Hello everyone. So today for your notes, we're going to go over questions 1 and 2 from the problems that you worked on in your groups last class. This might be a review for a lot of you, but it also might cover some new ground. So please take notes. Feel free to pause this video at any point while you're watching it to write down what I'm doing or anything that you notice that you want to make sure that you pay attention to. So question 1. A straight line has gradient m equals -3 and passes through point A, -1, 2. Find the equation of the line in gradient point form y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. We want to think about close reading for this problem. So the same way that you were solving problems in your worksheets in the past is the same way we're going to think about the problems. So the first question we want to ask ourselves with close reading is, what is the question asking me to do? This question is asking us to think about our gradient point form. We can see right here, it wants us to find the equation of the line in gradient point form. So that's exactly what we're looking for. This means that once we get to gradient point form, we have our solution and we can stop. The second question that we're thinking about has to do with what things we know, what information we already have. And that also means variables. We want to be very careful to find all of the variables that we know in this equation. So in this example, we say the line has a gradient m equals 3. That's one of our variables. And it passes through the point A, which is -1, 2. These are the variables that we have access to. So at first, I might just type them the way I see them, right? I might just type out m equals -3 point A, -1, 2. But we also want to label these correctly. So a way that we can label these is to use our x and y as x1 and y1. So x1, that's going to be the -1. And y1, that's going to be 2. Remembering that x, y coordinates always have x, then y. So if I label it like this, that means that when I come to a later point in the question, I won't get confused about what number goes where because I've already written out every single number's label. The last question that we ask for close reading has to do with formulas. What formulas can I use to solve the problem? And in this example, I actually have it written right here. This is the formula for gradient point form. You might not always see that, but you should always know that gradient point form is y minus y1 and x minus x1. So I'll just copy that and paste it here. From here, I have everything I need to solve. So when I solve, all I need to do is plug in the numbers. I'm going to start with the same formula. My first step is just going to be writing down my formula. Y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. Then I'm going to plug in all of the numbers I know. So I'll paste it again, and this time I'm going to start changing things. So I want to know what m is. Well, m was up here, and m is also labeled as m equals -3. So I'm going to take this -3 and bring it in for m. What other numbers do I have? The other variables I have are the x and y. And I've written here that x1 equals -1. So in the place that I see x1, I'm going to delete that and write -1. Notice that I now have two negatives here. I don't want to forget about one of them. I also know that y1 equals 2. So I'll delete my y1 and write 2. Now I'm left with this problem. Y minus 2 equals negative 3, x minus negative 1. I could just leave it like this, but one thing that I want to remember is that two negatives make a positive. And that means that the final answer I will write is y minus 2 equals negative 3, x plus 1. See. This is what tripped a lot of people up about this problem, is that they tried to change this final answer into something that it didn't need to be. This is our answer in that highlighted yellow. Don't try to convert it to anything else. Question 2 says, a straight line passes through the points A, 1, 2, and B, negative 3, 1. We have three parts. Part A says, find the gradient between point A, B. Part B, using gradient from part A and 1 point, write the equation of the line and gradient point form, y equals y minus y1 equals mx minus x1. C, find the equation of the line in general form, ax plus by plus c equals 0. So for each of these, I'm going to write out for myself, what is the question? What are my variables? And what formulas can I use? Part A, the question is to find the gradient. My variables are this A that I've been given, 1, 2, and B, negative 3, 1. So at first, I'll just type that out like that. A, 1, comma 2, and B, negative 3, 1. That isn't where I want to leave my variables, as we'll see in part 3. Formulas. We want to use the gradient formula, which you should recall that is y1 minus y2 divided by x1 minus x2. So I'm going to write that. And I'll just draw a line so that I know that this is a fraction. So my formula is y1 minus y2 divided by x1 minus x2. That means that I need to label my variables in these terms. I need to know what number is y1, what number is y2, and so on. So thinking about the fact that we always label our variables as x, then y, that means that this 1, that's x1. Then the 2 is y1, because they're the first point. Then when we come to here, for point B, we still have x and y, but since it's the second point, it's x2 and y2. Forgive my terrible twos. That means that I'm going to label my variables this way. x1 equals 1. y1 equals 2. x2 equals negative 3. y2 equals 1. This is going to make our life so much easier when we come to solving this. So our solution, it's going to take the y1 minus y2 and the x1 minus x2 that we had before. Let me just write that down here. And it's going to plug in all of those numbers that we just labeled. So formula will be equal to, and then we're just going to write out what we had before. So instead of y1 minus y2, it's going to be 2, which is our y1, minus 1, which is our y2. And instead of x1 minus x2, it will be 1 from our x1 minus negative 3 from our x2. Here again, notice that two negatives make a positive. So this one's actually going to come out to a positive, as in plus 3. So when I see 2 minus 1, that's going to be 1. And when I see 1 minus a negative 3, that's 1 plus 3, giving me 4. All of which is to say that our gradient is 1 over 4, or 1/4. That's our answer for part A. Now when we move to part B, it says using the gradient from part A and 1 point, write the equation of the line in gradient point form. So again, the question is asking us for the equation, to find the equation in gradient point form. So we know once we have gradient point form, we have our answer. The variables are actually told to us in the problem. They want us to use the gradient from part A. So we'll use that 1 over 4th. M equals 1/4. And we're going to use 1 point. So you could use either A or B. I'm going to use A. So our variables are M equals 1/4 and point A, 1, 2. Now, what formula? Well, we're going to use the formula that we were told in the problem, which is also the formula for gradient point form. And we'll paste it there. Now, we do need to go back to our variables and think about how we're going to label them. Because we noticed that in this problem, we're given the formula that uses y1 and x1. So we need to label our variables in terms of y1 and x1 as well. That means that we're going to say x1 equals 1 and y1 equals 2. Just taking that directly from point A. So now we're going to be able to use this formula to solve it. And we're going to do the same thing that we did in question 1, plug in the numbers. Taking this formula, I'm going to paste it, and then I'm going to paste it again and start changing the numbers. First, what's my M? What's my gradient? Well, that's the 1/4 that we chose here. So M is 1/4. Then what's y1? That's going to be 2 that we labeled up here. So we're going to delete this and change it to 2. And lastly, x1 will be 1 because we see it here. So that means that our solution in gradient point form is y minus 2 equals 1/4 x minus 1. That's our answer for part B of this problem. Lastly, we come to part C. Find the equation of the line in general form. ax plus by plus c equals 0. For this one, we're going to follow the same steps. This one might take a little bit of time for you to realize what this one's asking you to do, because I know some people were saying general form is the one that's confusing to them. but we're going to unpack it the same way. So the question is asking us to find general form. The variables that we have, but we don't really have variables so much as we have another equation. So we're actually going to use this. We're going to use the point-intercept form, the gradient point form that we had from part B. And that's going to be something that we use as our variables because it tells us that m equals 1/4. It tells us all of these values that we'll be able to use. And the formula that we want to use is that general form formula. So there we go. Now what we're going to do, instead of plugging in, we're actually going to transform the equation into general form. So we have this equation already, this y minus 2 equals 1/4 x minus 1. And we're going to take it now, and we're going to work on changing it. What do we want to do to it? We want to subtract all values to the left-hand side. I want to subtract all values to the left-hand side. Before we do that, we are going to multiply this out. So we're going to follow that PEMDAS order of operations, and we're going to get rid of the parentheses first because it'll be a lot easier for us later. So we keep the y minus 2, and we're going to multiply this 1/4 out to every part of the equation. So 1/4 times x, that's going to give us 1/4 x. And 1/4 times -1 is just going to be -1/4. So now that we've opened that brackets, those parentheses out, we can move them to the other side. So we're going to move this 1/4 x to the other side, and it will become negative because we're going to subtract 1/4 x from both sides. That means that we are going to get -1/4 there we go, -1/4 x plus y minus 2 equals -1/4. So all I've done so far is take this 1/4 x and subtract it from both sides. There we go. Subtracted it from both sides. I still have this -1/4 on the other side, and I want to get rid of that. So I'm actually going to take it and I'm going to add it to both sides. So to both sides, I'm going to say plus and plus. And here we go. Plus 1/4. And here again, plus 1/4. This means that when I add the two together, they'll cancel. So -1/4 plus 1/4 will cancel, leaving 0. And now I need to add these two numbers, -2 and 1/4. So -1/4 x plus y minus 2 plus 1/4 equals 0. When I add -2 plus 1/4, I can set those as fractions, and that's going to give me two numbers over 4. So -2 is the same as some number over 4. That means we're going to multiply 2 times 4. -2 equals -8/4. We're going to take this -8/4 and say -8/4 plus 1/4, because we got that 1/4 from here, equals -7/4. So now, get rid of that. Our final answer will be -1/4 x plus y minus 7/4 equals 0. This is the most complex part of what we've solved so far today, because we have to know how to move numbers across an equal sign on an equation.